Part 1. The Paradise Long Ago. Before cities were built and before men had taken over the lands, there existed a paradise hidden deep in the heart of nature. It was not just any forest, but a place so magical that even the winds carried songs of joy. The trees stood like guardians of time, tall and proud, their green crowns touching the sky as if they wished to whisper secrets to the clouds. Each morning, when the sun rose from the horizon, its golden rays spilled through the branches, painting the forest floor with light and warmth. Rivers wound through the jungle like silver ribbons, their waters so clear that a stone lying at the bottom looked as if it was floating in the air. When the sun touched the surface, the water glittered like diamonds, and the fish swam happily beneath the sparkling surface. Every living creature had a place in this forest. Birds were the messengers of the morning, greeting the world with their sweet melodies. Parrots laughed and chattered together, filling the air with cheerful noise, while nightingales sang songs so pure that even the breeze seemed to pause and listen. Monkeys swung joyfully from tree to tree, chasing each other in endless games, their laughter echoing through the branches. Deer moved gracefully between the bushes, their soft steps so light that even the leaves beneath their feet barely stirred. Tigers roamed like silent kings, strong and proud, yet never cruel, for this forest was their kingdom and every animal their subject. Elephants marched with dignity, their heavy steps shaking the earth like drums, yet their hearts were gentle, and they cared for the young ones of the forest as if they were all part of one big family. This was a land without fear. No animal harmed another unnecessarily. There was balance, a silent agreement between predator and prey, between the strong and the weak. Hunger was satisfied, thirst was quenched, and life flowed like a never-ending melody. Even the nights were peaceful. When the sun set, the stars would scatter across the sky, and the moonlight would bathe the forest in silver. Fireflies danced like tiny lanterns among the trees, while owls watched over the night, their eyes glowing like little suns in the darkness. Wolves howled, but their voices were not cries of sorrow, rather songs that blended with the music of the night. In this paradise, time seemed to stand still. Generations of animals lived and thrived. Newborns learned to walk, fly, or swim under the watchful eyes of their parents. The rivers never dried, the trees never stopped growing, and the air never lost its fragrance. It was a place where harmony was not a dream, but reality. One morning, when the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, the forest awoke in its usual beauty. Birds rose into the air like colorful clouds, monkeys stretched lazily after a night of play, and deer bent down to drink from the fresh waters of the stream. The elephants gathered near the lake, where the little ones splashed and rolled happily, spraying water into the air like fountains. Butterflies, painted with all the colors of the rainbow, fluttered around the flowers, while bees hummed softly, carrying golden pollen from one bloom to another. The forest was alive, breathing in rhythm with the earth itself. High up in the branches, a wise old owl watched everything. His feathers were gray and white, his eyes deep and calm. He had lived through many seasons, through rains and summers, through storms and peaceful nights. He had seen the forest grow and thrive, and he often thought to himself that no greater treasure could exist in the world. For here, every leaf, every stone, every drop of water had a story to tell. And all these stories blended into one, the story of life. On the far edge of the jungle, where the forest touched the mountains, the rivers roared with energy as they rushed down the slopes. Waterfalls thundered as they fell from the rocks above, sending sprays of mist into the air. Rainbows appeared every morning in the fine droplets, and animals often gathered near these places, not only to drink, but to marvel at the beauty that surrounded them. To them, it was not just a home, it was a gift, a sacred place that nourished their bodies and souls. Even the smallest creatures had their part to play. Ants carried food with incredible patience, building their tiny kingdoms beneath the soil. Frogs croaked by the ponds, announcing the coming of rain. Lizards basked in the sun, their scales shining like jewels. Snakes slid silently through the undergrowth, but they too were part of the great harmony. Each creature, no matter how small or large, was a note in the symphony of the forest. When storms came, the animals were not afraid. The trees bent with the wind but never broke, and the rivers swelled but never overflowed. The forest had a strength of its own, a resilience that had lasted for centuries. Every challenge that came was met with patience, and life always found a way to continue. This was the way it had always been. A paradise of peace, a treasure of hope, a dream made real on the earth. No one could imagine that such a place could ever fade, that such joy could ever end. For to the animals of the forest, their world was eternal, unshakable, and everlasting. But time is like the river, it flows, and sometimes it carries with it shadows from far away. Hidden beyond the mountains, far beyond the rivers, storms were gathering. The skies that once smiled blue and golden would one day frown with gray and anger. None of the animals knew it yet. To them, each day was a blessing, each night a gift. They lived without worry, without fear of what tomorrow might bring. Yet, destiny was slowly preparing a test for them. A test of fire, of courage, and of hope. And though the forest still sang its songs, somewhere deep in the silence of time, a whisper was rising, a whisper of sorrow that would one day change everything. For now, however, the forest of hope lived in the light. It was still the paradise of dreams, still the land of laughter and joy. Its story was far from over, though none could see the shadows that waited beyond the horizon. The trees swayed gently in the breeze, the rivers sparkled in the sun, and the animals lived their days in peace, never knowing how precious, how fragile their paradise truly was.